You're tuned into RX Radio. Movement prescribed. Brought to you by Prescript.com. A personalized approach to keeping you healthy and making your best even better. Your hosts, Dr. Jordan Shallow and Dr. Jordan JIUNTA.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of RX'D Radio. This week, Shallow and myself sat down, talked a lot of bullshit, but got to some serious stuff about the Prescript weightlifting course that goes live as of today. So if you are listening to this right now, the course material for the weightlifting course has been launched and is available for access currently. We did a little bit of a pre-sale on this, but now the course material is actually available. It's a 5-week weightlifting course. This is focused on coaching and learning, assessment, and progressions, regressions for the snatch, the clean, all jerk variations, squat variations pertinent to Olympic weightlifting. This is my brainchild, so I'm super excited to bring this to you. Super grateful for the team I have behind me that helped bring this to fruition. So Eli, Casey, Clem, Shallow, Mark, Renee, super grateful for all of them. It is live on Prescript.com, so www.pre-script.com. Go under courses, and it is the Introduction to Weightlifting course. Check it out. Tag us in your screenshots from Instagram. Reach out with any questions that you guys have. info@pre-script.com. Super excited to bring this to you. Enjoy the podcast and reach out with any questions that you guys have. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, because you guys can just buy that. Like, we went to a gun store in Gainesville, which is like, gun stores in general are the most fascinating places in the world. With the most, there was a guy who couldn't walk, who was headed in, like, he was probably conservatively 140 years old. That was like a lower estimate of how old this guy was. Like, belt buckle, cowboy boot, shirt tucked in, paisley, cowboy hat, the whole 9 yards. And like, he would literally had to hold on to the frame of his truck to get to his trunk. And like, I don't know how he would have held a weapon and also stood up. Like, he reminded me of, like, not even the old man, but he reminded me of the old man's paralyzed dog from Family Guy. Like, that's what this guy was. And he was headed into this gun range. I'm like, can we get it, whatever the fuck it is we're getting, so we can get out before that guy starts popping off rounds?
Oh, dude, shit.
Everyone in there looked like they went to Columbine High School. Like, it was the strangest.
Oh, dude.
It was like the most get me the fuck out of here. Like, I've been in like some weird nightclubs, like in San Francisco, that I'm like, oh, okay, probably this is a weird place for a bearded big white guy to be. I've been in back alleys in New York that I probably shouldn't have been. Never have I felt more uncomfortable than in the gun store in Gainesville, Florida. I was like, there's way too many people without eyebrows in here, and like, they have more bullets than teeth. Like, this is a big concern.
Yeah, it's always the people that, like, you hope shouldn't be able to own guns that own the most guns.
It's like, you own guns because you're vengeful and spiteful for the hand that God has dealt you. I've never seen an albino person before. There were 4 albino people in there. It's like, what, you guys get a group rate? Is there like a bus that brought you here? How the fuck are there 4 albino? And they didn't even know each other. There's 4 random, like, the odds of this. Like, this is not a coincidence.
Oh my God, dude. So what did you get from the gun store?
Okay, meaning our friend John. John was in the military. And so he got bullets. We shot 2 AR-15s, and one had like a compressor on it or something. Like, it looked like a silencer. Like, it wasn't nearly as loud. And the other one was, which was the craziest term, one had to shoot supersonic. So there was one that shot supersonic that it wasn't compressed, and I pulled the trigger and I was deaf for like 2 weeks after. I think I'm just getting my hearing back. And so we bought bullets for that, bullets for the 2 AR-15s. And then he bought 4 pounds of tannerite. But dude, and that's the thing. Literally, me and Killian, we like put up a video of us like shooting it and it blowing up. Up until that day, I had no idea what tannerite was. Everyone on the planet seemed to have known what it is. Like, well, I didn't say like I just put up the video of me shooting something and it exploding. And everyone, literally everyone, even friends from back home, were like, "Oh, where'd you get the tannerite from?" Like, did I sleep through some social studies class where all we went through was fucking tannerite? It was the weirdest thing.
Dude, tannerite is like redneck sparklers. That's like low level. That's like, oh yeah, we'll get some of that. It'll be fun. We'll mix up a bunch and just explode some shit.
Dude, it left it like we did 2 pounds each. And we were probably shooting from like 30, 40 yards out. And it left a crater in the ground. And it was 2 pounds. Like our buddy John, like he had like this old Ford Bronco. He goes, "Oh, we'll get 40 pounds and we'll blow the Bronco up." I was like, "Excuse me?
Dude.
You're going to do what now?"
That
like,
sounds so Florida.
Oh, Pete, dude. And we were 10 feet from the road and this bothered 0 people. Like there was literally like me and Killian crawling in the grass like army men from Toy Story with like just strapped to the fucking nines. And we were literally shooting like, obviously away from the road. And that one AR, that supersonic one, because I guess the compressor or whatever the fuck it was slows the bullet down, and the bullet's not fast enough to explode the tannerite. I don't know. I'm not a fucking gun guy. But yeah, so this supersonic one that was super fucking loud, it was like this blue camouflage AR. I don't know what you're camouflaging into. And we were literally like crawling on the grass, shooting explosives 10 feet from the road. And everyone was just like driving by, like nobody, like it was insane.
That's pretty wild, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was Florida. Florida was you know what? This day and age, Florida is freedom. Florida is America.
Yeah. I mean, that may be a very unfortunate truth, but it's definitely a truth.
You know what? Like with the COVID stuff and whatever, and that still being a thing, it was actually very refreshing to be in a place that just did not care. Like,
I'm sure.
It was hilarious. Like people took their masks off to go into the gun store. I was like, okay, these are people that get relative risk, right? They saw old man, paralyzed dog just walk in. They don't think the mask is going to save them from any imminent danger, right? This guy's going to do a fucking desk pop and shoot his foot off. I don't need a fucking, a Lycra mask over my face. It's like insane. It actually, for the first time, gave me hope. And this is how far gone humanity is, that Florida gave me hope in humanity.
Oh man.
Yeah, like I had close friends of mine pick me up on the election night and they had ARs in their vehicle.
Of course they did.
But it's just like, they usually carry like a whatever Glock 19, 17, whatever. But like on election night, everyone was strapped. Like,
so is this like anticipating a riot or some sort of?
Yeah, it was just like, I'm coming to pick you up. And when I would get in the passenger seat of the car, like strapped in with a seatbelt was a fucking AR. It was like, yeah. I'm like, what is this? They go, don't worry, I got mine. I was like, oh, so this is for me. So you have a turret on the top? How does this work?
That's so funny because that's like, I'm far removed from it at this point, but that's like the logic of like people where I grew up. It's like, oh, shit's going down, I'm gonna get my guns. Like, do you think that full thing through? Like, if you have guns and shit goes down, that means like you're just itching to fucking kill people. Like, is that not a fucked up thought process?
My biggest concern, and I get stressed out when I watch movies like this, is it's the bullets. Like, unless your trunk is full of bullets, because that's it. You're starting a problem that you might not have the ammunition to finish. Where it's like, once that last barrel or the last bullet leaves the chamber, it's like, you got yourself a big problem. If you don't have yourself a bunch of dead people, you got yourself a big problem. It was a scene, man, but definitely nice to be home. Although it's funny with the way stuff was, I actually verbalized this the other day, and my friend Shane, he hunts a lot up here in Canada, and I thought about getting a hunting license just so I could legally own a firearm. Like, that's how crazy things are going with like this COVID stuff. Like, if a government, because when I got back, I had to quarantine, and like they call you and stuff, and it's like without putting my political views out there. But like every time one of these fucking fascists called me like it was my goddamn babysitter, I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, fuck you. Any other questions? No? All right. Okay. Fuck off, you communist. Fuck out of here. I was like, oh man, I understand now, which is weird because we've talked about guns in the past, and I've always kind of like, I don't really get it. In the last month, I get it. Like, I get the self authority that comes with 2 pounds of tannerite and an AR, and this "don't tread on me" attitude that America gets, because we've never experienced in modern Canadian history as white people, frankly, any sort of oppression that would necessitate that. But you're starting to see it. Like, they just locked gyms down here again. And if I have someone starting to enforce a curfew, and I have Benelli 12 gauge fucking pump action shotgun, guess who's not coming home when the streetlights go out? This fucking guy. This guy's rolling Rambo style with fucking war paint under his eyes, and I'll cruise right down Brant Boulevard in Brampton or Burlington, and you're not going to put me to bed. Like, I almost feel bad for creating a negative association of Americans and guns, because I totally understand it now.
So is this whole situation, like the government lockdowns, that's what changed your mind?
Yeah, the indecisiveness, the seeming idea, when I don't want this to turn into a conspiracy theory thing, but just the total lack of what I see as adherence to science and logic. Mm-hmm. Like, once logic goes, that's when I start getting extremely hostile. Like, if I'm in an argument with someone and they're being illogical, I'm going to lose my fucking shit, because you can't just move the pieces on the chessboard, right? Like, there's rules to this shit. So Toronto just went into a lockdown again. They were not locked down for like a week and a half in between these periodic random lockdowns. So it's definitely, to me, like, if in the Constitution it was drafted so that you could not be held, or you could take up militia against tyrannical government, I think we are on the cusp, or if not right in the middle of tyrannical government. I'm going to be fucking strapped to the nines. I'm going to walk around with fucking shotgun shells spread across my shoulder. Like, just insane. I never thought I'd say that in my entire life. Anyone who knew me growing up, or like even when I was living in the States, wasn't down with guns. But now, man, it's so scary the way the government is just flexing on people, where it's like, you know what? So the ultimate flex that I found out, AR-15s and tannerite. That flexes back hard. AR-15s and tannerite goes hard in the paint.
For like the picture for this podcast, can we just have like someone Photoshop like you and Rambo together, and that is just like, that's the cover for this podcast?
Casey, Alora, make it happen.
Yes.
Live free and die hard. That's the name of the podcast. Live free and die. Yeah. But enough about me. How are you? You're actually doing stuff. I'm sitting here trying to arm myself, readying for World War III.
I know. I've got my guns already, so I've covered that base. But yeah, I mean, I got engaged. That's like, that would be the most relevant thing to answer that
podcast question. Podcast official. Incredible. Yeah, man. Awesome.
I know.
Times.
I didn't want to tell too many people in case she still has time to walk out on me. So it's not official.
I saw the ring. You're good. Yeah, that's always the decision. It's like, okay, what carrot means she's not gonna leave me? That's the conversation that anyone's ever gone engaged. Like, you're looking at whatever quarter carrot, going like, I'm not that good of a human being to get away with a quarter carrot or whatever. What's this fucking blood hope diamond the size of my head? That looks like it offsets how shitty a person I am.
Yep. That's how this works,
Yeah.
I had to spend enough to make sure that she's not going anywhere, and at least if she does, it's going to hurt her to give the ring back.
Right.
not getting
Yeah. Yeah. There's a coefficient there that needs to be found. It's how big of an idiot I am and how much money is in an account for this. And you just got to wait, and you got to do dishes, and you got to wait, and you just try and hopefully balance the scales where it's like, I've done enough housework and I have enough money that she's not going to leave me.
That's the hope, man. That's the hope.
Busy guy. Other than that, and the weightlifting course ready to go. Maybe we should have led with that.
Yeah, I probably should have led with that. I don't know. What was I thinking?
Well, I meant I should have led with that. The engagement one definitely scored you some points. So good on you on that one.
Yeah, man. Weightlifting course is just about polished. We're just putting the finishing touches on it right now. I'm super stoked for this. Been working pretty hard. It's been the best use of this lockdown for sure. But yeah, so it's going to be a 5-week course, 5 weeks of just pre-recorded lecture content. And it just takes you through start to finish, how to go about teaching and learning the snatch, the clean, all jerk variations and squat variations that pertain to weightlifting. And it breaks it down into ways and just ways of thinking about each of these movements, prerequisite ranges of motion, prerequisite kind of, what you call the gatekeeper principles, movements we should be able to do before striving to actually snatch, clean, and jerk. And just really focusing on getting the prerequisite levels of function out of the shoulder, hips, and spine that will allow you to be successful in the snatch and clean jerk.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting format because right now the weightlifting course joins the level 1 course and the barbell course. And those two are both different formats in the sense that level 1 is fully live lecture. Barbell course is partially live lecture, partially tutorial content. And we've actually had a lot of requests for full tutorial content. And I thought of all the disciplines where that would be the best as far as like, what is the most difficult thing to learn, without the practical instruction. And obviously I think that would be Olympic weightlifting. I think anyone who's ever tried Olympic weightlifting would agree that, to have this try and taught live lecture format would be difficult, as you can't necessarily replay it. You don't necessarily have all the angles required to interpret everything from the assessments, which I think is something that I've yet to see in any sort of instructional class, especially around Olympic weightlifting. But then to see from all angles, the setup, the stabilization, and the execution of these movements, their progressions, their regressions, their adaptations, and optimizations. The fact that you opted for like the full tutorial. So the nice thing with this is, with those of you guys who've taken our courses in the past, the level 1 runs like every 16 weeks. The weightlifting course runs about every 2 months. The barbell course runs every 2 months. But the weightlifting course is, starting today when this episode is live, it can run whenever you guys want to start. And then it gets auto dripped as you go through the content. And I think the unique thing about this is there are other courses out there that are fully automated, but we have the standing lab section, which is basically like, all right, just like in a university course, you'll have like a lecture that's not really interactive, right? Like if your professor has a lecture, 400 people in a lecture hall, you're not really going to be able to be asking questions. He's trying to get through, or she is trying to get through course material, right? So someone raises their hand, and we all had that guy in the class that raises their hand and totally derails and just tries to like prove themselves smart in front of it. Like, shut the fuck up, right? But we also have the lab sections, which I think are really unique in the sense that, okay, we've gone through the tutorial, we have all the angles, we've seen the assessments, but maybe we have like a case study or something that requires a little bit more context. We can then sit in as a group and actually have a discussion about, different scenarios and different, like in different contexts in which we might alter or adapt or progress or regress. So I think that's something that in the 2-3 months we've been doing the labs with the level 1 and with the barbell course, I think to have that with the weightlifting course and also have like the other end of that being fully automated, you can take your time with it. It'll exist forever. You can always have it as a resource. and also have, while you're actively enrolled, that lab section a part of it, and the ability to not only talk to you about the course material and, you know, different case studies and things like that. But I think one of the coolest things since we started that I've seen, and you teaching a lot of the labs as well, is the network of other coaches starting to like work with each other and offering their 2 cents. So like creating this network of like minds, but also I think like a repository of information, right? Like basically turning this into some sort of centralized library of, you know, information. And if, you know, we don't necessarily have all the answers, but in those lab sections, man, questions get answered. And sometimes, a lot of the times, at least in my lab section, it's not by me.
Yeah, that's definitely been one of probably the best additions over the last couple of months. And I'm the same as you. They started out almost as kind of Q&A sessions, the labs, and they really evolved into their own sessions of it's a collaboration where it's, you know, everyone kind of gets together and they say, well, this is my take on it, this is my take on it, and you get a couple of different point of views from people with maybe a couple different backgrounds on that same sort of issue. And like you said, we all have our biases, we all come from different places, but with that, we're going to get a different outlook on each scenario. So kind of putting that into the framework for the weightlifting course, how it's designed, there's certain stuff that you just have to put into practice. It's going to be, you need to understand this, you need to be able to have this concept of the movement or what we're trying to accomplish at this phase of the lift, that it doesn't really change from person to person. So that's the stuff that's in the pre-recorded lectures. That's the stuff that's like, you can apply this to a wide variety of people and it will be, you know, it will be a good starting place. And then we have the lab sections to kind of hone it in and talk about, okay, well, I have this person that has, you know, this injury that they need to work around, or this person coming from this background, say lack range of motion through the shoulder, whatever it is that you can take these general kind of baseline principles that we start with, and then you can start to form it around your population or yourself or the people that you work with. So there's kind of layers of complexity to it. It's first understanding the basics, and then once you have those basics, those principles, it's how can you apply that to a wider population.
Yeah, I think starting off with like a heuristic, right? Like a general way. And as Stu, who teaches our barbell course, says, you know, how can we help most of the people most of the time, right? And absolutely. I think when people hear like pre-recorded lecture, like, and I've gone through the material, don't get the idea that it's pre-recorded us talking on Adirondack chairs. The pre-recorded content, the entire course is taught in the gym on a bar, multiple cameras, multiple angles, overdubbed audio, text on screen, highlighting like joint positions and things like that. So I think as applicable as basically anything can be outside of the realm of just showing up in person with a bar in your hand, I think, you know, even putting up against, sorry, after I've seen the weightlifting course, like the one that, you know, we've just launched this morning, and looking back retroactively at the barbell course, I've actually started the process of redoing the tutorial component of the barbell course because of how good the tutorial component of the weightlifting course is. So I think, you know, it's obviously, it's tough to get to seminars, period. Like I think a lot of times seminars, you know, they necessitate a certain number of people who are, this is going to sound bad, but like certain number of people who are at your level or interest level in a particular topic in a particular region, right? So with products and courses and seminars of this caliber, there is only, you know, I think per geographical region, there's not many coaches at that level that you know, or aspire to be at that level even, that would necessitate or be able to make it viable for you to show up and teach this in person. But, you know, with the internet, this crazy ass thing, now all of a sudden you're able to reach those people, and those people are able to now reach each other. Right? Like it's pretty cool. I forget some interesting countries of note in some recent signups. We have 2 coaches in Kenya, which was a new country and I don't know why, I'm just fascinated by this. Prague, UK, Ireland, Wales, Spain, Portugal. I think we're over 50 countries now. And it's like at a certain point, and we've been doing this long enough that I think we really respect that. Look, people who care enough or care to be better are extremely, extremely rare. So the fact that, and I start all the lectures off with this when, I see someone in a lab or I see people in a lecture and I go, look, the most important thing in this room is everyone else, right? Like, people have started businesses, people have started podcasts, people have found coaches found clients, all within the platform, because I think people, hopefully, and as the more we stress this, the repository of information that is found with the coaches that sign up for this course is, I think, and this is saying something because I find the value, especially of this particular course, so high, that even more valuable than the content of the course is the content of the character of the people that take the course, which has been really cool for us, I know, to see those people all kind of dawn our doorstep and take a seat at our table and be able to kind of share that. So I'm looking forward to seeing that really kind of come through in the weightlifting community, because I know at the level you teach it at the level you execute it at. And that's always something that gets me, is like the people who are known to teach it at a high level that can't do it at a high level. And I think that's where, like, I start to look at our team. I look at you with weightlifting. I look at like myself and Stu and Killian in powerlifting and body composition and all that stuff. I look at James and his background. It's like, all right, fuck with us. Like, at the end of the day, that's literally what I think about, like, just lining us up against any other education. And there's a couple education companies that I think of that I'd love to just fucking do all right, shirts versus skins, sharks versus jets, bloods versus crips, prescript versus the world. Bring it the fuck on. We'll murder you with our bare hands. Any questions? Good. Time to get schooled, motherfucker. Yeah, but it's like, because at a certain point, like, and this sounds fucked up, but like the most extreme version of an argument is a fight. And it's like, we don't have to go there, but motherfucker, we'll go there. Like, James will like fillet you with a butterfly knife. You'll just be all cauliflower and shit. I don't know. Stu will headbutt you in the forehead. Killian will like just, I don't know, headbutt you in the forehead, and I'll sit on the back and, I don't know, throw some shit, kick someone in the balls. But no, but it's cool because I think we attract what you put out there, right? Like, and I think the fact that we spent so much time where we should have been in school in the gym, right?
Yep.
Spent so much time where we should have been in practice in the gym. And now it's all of a sudden, it's like, okay, this is what I want. I want stuff that's understood through clinical theory, but is tried and tested through practical application. So I just think, like, and you see that in the way that, because you teach the entire course. So it's like watching you teach this course through the tutorials is like watching that guy on the sidewalk who has a tambourine on his ass, playing a bass guitar with one hand and like Stairway to Heaven on like a 6-string with another. And then he's also has like a snare drum attached to like his knee. And he's just like, how is he doing all of this at the same time? But it's like, because he's done all of this, right? Like, the guy can play the tambourine really well, even better when it's not attached to his ass, right? Because he knows how to play the fucking tambourine. He can play classical gas when he just has to play the guitar, right? Like, you can do it. You can teach it. You can compete at it. You can coach it. Right. So that's why when you watch you do this, it's like, this guy's playing 7 instruments at the same time. Right. Like, he's teaching it in a way. He's set up the frames and the shots and the camera angles to highlight what you need to know from a coach's perspective, from a lifter's perspective, from a judge's perspective, like having all of these different layers and all these different lenses to look through, where it's like other people are like, oh yeah, it doesn't really make a difference. It's like, it doesn't make a difference because you're blind to what difference it would make if you were trying to look at it as a coach or trying to look at it as an athlete. It's easy just to like, be I don't say it's easy to be a coach, but it's definitely easier to be a coach than it is to be a coach and an athlete. Like, I've seen you at meets where you've been competing and coaching. And I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? He's everywhere, right? He's sitting there like calling plays like a third base coach in the back, trying to interpret. And then he goes up and like, oh, fuck, I got to snatch, puts a singlet on, does that thing. And it's crazy, man. It's cool to see that in one place. And I think when people get a look at it, and especially coaches who have taken, you know, the level one and the barbell, and now to have, I think this as a tool in the toolbox, as a weapon in the arsenal, I think is probably, it'll change the way we do tutorial content, education material for everything we've already done and stuff we do moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's awesome. Yeah, I think as I was designing this, I mean, what I was really going for here is to draw in kind of a broader audience, because a lot of the people that we work with, they have some sort of interest or some sort of knowledge of Olympic weightlifting, but not everyone really knows how to apply it. And that's kind of, it's been this kind of abstract barbell sport that's like, you know, these people just hang out in some fucking warehouse, like shipping container in the corner and fucking slam bars, and they're fucking broke as shit. And like, it's just like this own little population of like a subset of like people that like to lift weights. So I think a couple things over the past couple of years have really made this popular. I think first off, USA weightlifting has grown like a tremendous amount in the past probably 10 years. And with that, kind of the boom of CrossFit put a barbell in a lot of people's hands. So I designed this with the population in mind of people that have exposure to this, but haven't had instruction on this. So, and that's kind of how I got into it too. And I've, you know, I'm just, I don't know. I like to immerse myself in the things that I'm passionate about. So with this, you kind of saw me take the turn. I dove into weightlifting, and I mean, I've worked with different coaches, remote, in person. I've taken different seminars, again, remote, in person. I've read books. I've watched all the videos. I've, you know, studied all of the best lifters in the world. And in that time, I've coached. I mean, I started Prescript Barbell. I started a barbell club where, you know, I'm coaching. Before the shutdown, I was coaching probably 50 athletes a week, some of them brand new, some of them more experienced. I've worked with people at the national, at the international level. So I've seen a lot when it comes to the snatch and the clean and jerk, the sport of weightlifting. And I've seen it in different applications. I've seen it in different capacities, people with different interest levels to it. And the biggest thing is that I find a want of people to do this thing, but a lack of people to teach this thing, right? So that's what I wanted to put out there. Is I wanted to put out for people with an interest in weightlifting, how they can get into it and start to apply it in a relatively safe way, where they have an idea of the process of how they should be striving to progress. And then with that, they're doing it with intention. They're doing it with the intent that that is meant to be behind these movements. So that's a lot of what I see people doing this stuff from. Even just the typical, you know, your strength and conditioning, we do power cleans background is okay. You do it because coach tells you to do it, but you don't do it well. So I wanted to put out something that's going to give people a base level understanding and teach them how they can strive towards a base level of competency in these movements, and not only just to learn them themselves, but to teach these to other people. This is exactly how I would teach anyone the snatch and the clean and jerk. And I've, you know, like I said, I've worked with people through all different levels of the sport, even high level in the sport. So this stuff transfers if it's applied. People just need to be taught how to apply it.
Yeah. And I think, like, especially with Olympic weightlifting, it's so secluded, it's so reclusive that you know, world-class coaching is only deemed, you know, if you're in like a wood panel training hall somewhere in Bulgaria, or right. And for a lot of times that's true, because, and I think when I go through this, and I know the coaches that go through our course, and I know that a lot of them are either aspiring or currently working in the field of strength and conditioning, or they're clinicians who are aspiring to work with barbell athletes. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, you know, Olympic weightlifting pre-CrossFit got its sort of rise in popularity as a adjunct in training in high school football weight rooms across the country. And there is a huge potential and benefit to human performance in teaching and optimizing the triple extension moment under load and the timing of the hips, the knees, the ankles, stability of the spine, shoulder, and hips to athletic performance, to even into a progression of rehabilitation towards athletic performance. But I think too many people don't understand the intent, don't understand the prerequisites. So strength coaches, I think there's been somewhat of a shift away from programming for Olympic movements. And I think, it may, given the fact that the market's underserved on proper ways to progress and regress and adapt and optimize these Olympic movements, I think it's been a net detriment to performance in athletics. I'm not saying that you have to be good at these to be a good athlete, but I'm saying if you can be good at these, you're definitely going to be a good athlete, right? If you have a skill to build on top of these prerequisites, the timing, the awareness, the awareness of your relative joint position simultaneously working into this triple extension, like I think strength coaches should look to create a renaissance, a resurgence around Olympic weightlifting in their programming, if done correctly. Like there are a few coaches out that do it very well, and their athletes are, I believe, more resilient because the prerequisites at shoulder, hip, and spine have been met in order for these exercises to be programmed, right? So they're not just doing power cleans in an off season with a bunch of high school kids in a weight room just for the hell of it. They're programming it as a benchmark of function that we can build across. So I think one of the biggest benefits I see of this course and its application is in the hands of strength coaches or, rehab specialists, chiros, physical therapists, or even trainers with a focus more towards human performance, is reintroducing in a logical and a safe and in like a pedagogical way these movements into the trainer's repertoires, right? There was like almost an anti-intelligence movement in strength and conditioning that seemed to just mimic a powerlifting movement. And it's like, oh, okay, snatch and clean and jerk seems hard. Let's just fucking load up squat, bench, and deadlift. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sakes, come on, man. So I think, if I'm a strength coach listening to this, it's definitely something that sparked my interest. And even me, like knowing you for so long and watching you lift and kind of just picking your brain about Olympic weightlifting and the work I do in strength and conditioning has been so valuable. So I could definitely see this, from an athletic perspective. Sure, if I'm an athlete looking to kind of optimize my lifting, but I think if I'm a strength coach right now, I want to get a solid basis in the Olympic lifts. If I'm a chiropractor, a chiropractic student, physical therapy student, or physical therapist who wants to work with such a growing population, right? Like you said, the USAW numbers in the last couple of years have just been crazy. So I think there's such an opportunity to build confidence. I think that's one of the things when we get feedback from the courses that we run, one of the most common threads that sort of jumps off the page is that confidence, right? Is that like, okay, I now know when I approach this situation, I know how to assess what it is I'm seeing, and I know how to and when and where to move these people into a place where they can start to achieve, a success towards the end goal of this lift, or this movement pattern or this regression or this accessory movement. So it's really cool to see that done in a space like powerlifting. People, everyone kind of has their opinions, and to a certain degree, many roads lead to Rome. But in Olympic weightlifting, it's so unforgiving that there has to be a level of depth and detail to the instruction, because anything other than perfect is just not acceptable.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's what this is built upon. It's just getting a good understanding of the intentions behind every single, not just the lift in general, but every single piece and portion and phase of the lift, where you're understanding what you should be doing when and why. And then that's what I like about this from a coaching aspect. It's basically over the last, I've been snatching and clean and jerking for about 8 years now. I was introduced to power cleans early on in my wrestling strength and conditioning, probably about 17 years ago. So I've been around these movements for a long time, and this is basically all the shortcomings of people teaching me, of me going through trial and error in those times. It's been boiled down to what I find the most effective and what resonates with the most amount of people. And that's what it is. It's how you can learn these movements, learn how to instruct them well, which I think is, like you said, teaching people that teach the movements is more so my goal with this, so that we can just get more people in the sport of weightlifting. This is something that I see bridging the gap of someone with, really no experience on these barbell lifts, and it will take you through a full progression of how to gain the proper mobility, joint stability through hips, spine, and shoulders, that will transfer over to learning these lifts and then building these up piece by piece from the ground, so that it's, like you said, it's, well, kind of taking that strength and conditioning coach side of things. It's, you don't have to be teaching the snatch and the clean and jerk, sports specific as it's performed on the platform to be effective in learning or teaching or getting the benefit of these movements. So it teaches you pieces of these that you can use in training where you see fit, and everything's a progression in life, in the weight room, whatever the fuck it is. It's, you're always trying to move forward. So if you're going to be working with athletes for, more than one season or a long period of time, then you can develop those athletes piece by piece to learning these movements, or getting maybe a more effective training stimulus with something. If you can do, a full clean, getting through a full front squat and get the bar over your head, doing a clean and jerk, then that can kind of cover a lot of bases with one movement. So you can make training sessions more effective in that way. But yeah, I mean, without kind of going too far down a rabbit hole, it's basically just building these up piece by piece, and being able to see the benefit to each portion of the lift, and get people to be doing the variation that's appropriate for them at that time, while still working to develop them into kind of taking the next step in that progression.
Yeah, and I think that's where the labs come so important. Is like all the pieces are there and they'll always be there. Like this will always be a reference. There's some universal truths to being able to teach and execute these movements and assess these movements. So I think, like, while you're in the course and you have access to the labs, it's like, okay, all the pieces are in front of you. Now it's like, use that lab opportunity to network with coaches and be able to pick your brain directly, which is so valuable. Because it could be one sentence that just goes, oh, this piece, then this piece, then this piece, go. And now it's like, oh, great, I didn't remember 3 things. I go back into the lecture material or the tutorial course material. I brush up on, power versus hang from the hip, all of these different progressions and regressions. And then all of a sudden it's like, that light bulb goes off, and it's not like you necessarily, gave them the answer, because they were out asking better questions, just because they've been exposed to, all of these different pieces. And I think the more you get exposed to these pieces, that, to stick with the metaphor, you can start to put it together, and then your program can start to take shape and can start to look like something that is, fits for a particular athlete. But yeah, dude, super excited. Again, it's changed the way we have and are going to release course content. From an educational perspective, I think it is by far the cleanest course we have. The automation with the lab section, with the network and the rest of the coaches. I'm extremely excited. I'm front of the line. I'm already going through it at the moment. And I'll be sitting in on labs, because again, I think it is a tool that I underutilize as a strength coach, because I don't have enough. I utilize it more than I would have if I didn't know you, because I just text you and it'd be like, hey bro, elbows this way or elbows this way, elbows that way. Okay, thanks, man. But no, man, I'm excited. And guys, do check it out. It's www.pre-script.com. It'll be up on the homepage. If you're on our email list, it would have been sent out first thing this morning. So do check that. Pre-script weightlifting. Eye out as well. The manual, the Bible, coming very soon.
Yep, that'll be coming on out. So kind of course breakdown. We're looking at the first week's all squat assessment. And we talk about every form of squat, body weight squats, all the way up through front squats, high bar squats, and overhead squats. And then we get into all pressing and jerk variations. The next week, we'll talk clean after that, and then snatch. And then we have a whole week on program design and periodization for weightlifting. So that's the complete picture there. And then like we said, we have the interactive labs for anything that seems to be lacking or seems to not resonate from the course. We can talk about it directly. So I really look forward to working with you guys. I'm super excited for this.
Yeah, man. I'm going to be the first student in class, first one in lab with my hands up, guys. So do check it out. That's all the time we have for this week. We're just going to, I'd sit here and hype this until the fucking cows come home, until Apple fucking deplatforms us. But I think that'll be it for today. If you guys have any specific questions, this is something we've been doing in other courses, is specific questions that might require maybe a little bit more depth, or you want something that you guys hear in class, regardless of discipline, whether it's barbell, whether it's weightlifting, whether it's our level 1 upcoming in January, our skill acquisition course, more than happy to expand on that into a full hour or however long it takes to expand podcast. So that's been pretty cool. Coaches kind of, hey, what's your take on this particular training modality or this thought process around Olympic weightlifting, barbell training, the power lifts, maybe more to the applied biomechanics side with the level 1 course, or more the theoretical training side around skill acquisition. We're more than happy to kind of sit around and riff on more detailed concepts just to make sure that people who are taking our courses are getting the most out of them. So guys, do reach out. Instagram is up and running. Our buddy Jimmy's running that from Australia. So shout out James McIntosh for that. So if you guys have any questions for us, or you want to reach out, at RX'D Radio on Instagram, at Red White and Jordan WITE, and at the Functional Chiro Jordan. At the Functional Chiro, I'm the _muscle_doc. I don't know. It's all in the show notes. Casey takes care of it.
So many Instagram accounts.
I live the internet is a weird place to live. I've said this before and I'll say it again. But Casey makes sure
Florida.
That's our Instagram. Our new Instagram handle is at Florida Men, at Tannerite, at AR15. That's it. That's all I got. Guys, I do appreciate your time as always. Prescript weightlifting is now live. So do head over to www.predescript.com. 5 weeks, change your perspective, change your skill set on Olympic weightlifting as a training adjunct, as a coaching tool. That's all I got. I'm done.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.